welcome back to this lecture on plotting the spatiality of Tagore's Kabuliwala. Now, let's look at the time aspect of the setting in a fictional world. So, we need to ask this question: when exactly is the story taking place? What is the historical period in which this fiction is contextualized, or what time of the day is it set in, or the year, and so on. Now, let's come back to our story in question, the Kabuliwala. We can guess that it is set in 19th century Bengal, primarily because we can assume that Tagore started writing stories at the turn of the 19th century, and Tagore is from Bengal. So, these general cues will kind of help us reasonably guess as to the time of the story, but that is just one way to guess at the setting of the story. We should also look at the narrative to figure out what are the other spatial cues or other cues about setting, which will give us a more firmer view of when exactly the story is set. So, and of course, the date of publication will also be a big cue as to when a story is set. So, these are some of the cues, but we need to look at the narrative cues about setting to be more precise in our assumptions. Now, within the story, there is a reference about Bengal, and this is what the excerpt has to say. Bengali girls were commonly familiar with the term in-laws, practically since birth. But being more modern, we chose not to load our daughter's mind with precocious thoughts at such a tender age. Now, this story references Bengal very clearly there. So, we can clearly note that Minnie is also a Bengali, and this story is about Bengal's world in some respects. And even though Minnie is part of this Bengali girls as a category, this particular family, the family of the writer, is slightly different from the rest of the communities in Bengal, and that fact is also highlighted by the reference to this phrase more modern. The father says that we are more modern, and therefore we decided not to load our daughter's mind, oppress our daughter's mind with precocious thoughts, thoughts which are not proper for her age, and because they would be oppressive to the tender age of the little girl. So, the difference is also stressed. Okay, that's something we need to note, the difference between the Bengali girls in general and the particular Bengali girl that is an aristocrat and a writer's daughter in this story. Again, there are other references to this Bengali cultural and social atmosphere. For instance, the Kabuliwala, who is a stranger to Bengal, talks in patchy Bengali, broken Bengali, and that's something that is reinforced now and again in the story. And again, the difference is stressed. Language is one of the ways through which difference can be asserted and affirmed. While the aristocrats speak perfect Bengali, we can assume the stranger to their world speaks broken Bengali. Again, there is a reference to the Bengali family that the story is about at a later stage in the story, especially the closing stage in the story, and I quote, "It no longer mattered to me that he was an ordinary fruits peddler from Kabul and I belonged to an aristocratic Bengali family." So, these words are said by Minnie's father at the end of the story when he sees the Kabuliwala as a broken man who cannot rekindle an association with his own daughter, and by implication with his own daughter who is far away in Afghanistan. So, at this point he says that I don't care that he is just an ordinary fruit peddler from Kabul, which again reinforces the identity of the Kabuliwala and the fact that he is a aristocratic Bengali man. So again, we can get all these spatial cues as the narrative progresses, something which we need to keep an eye out for. Now, further cues about time scale in this particular story are these. The story at the beginning says that one morning the Kabuliwala arrived, and a few days later we see Minnie and the Kabuliwala interact with one another, and there's a reference to early autumn as well in the story, and at the end of the winter. Okay, let's look at further cues about time in this story. There's a reference to one morning when the Kabuliwala enters the world of Minnie and her father, and there's a reference to a few days when Kabuliwala and Minnie meet again and have their fun. There are references to autumn and winter and autumn again. In fact, the story begins in autumn and ends in autumn as well. There's a neat circularity in terms of the weather patterns. And we should also remember that the crisis in the story happens in winter, and this is an aspect that I'll come back to in a minute. So we need to pay attention to the weather conditions that are described, referenced in the story, because they might have certain thematic associations. Is the weather stormy when a particular event is happening? Why is there a storm at this moment in the story and not in other moments? So these are some of the aspects that we need to pay attention to. So let me quote a very interesting event that happens during winter. The father is sitting in his study and he is reading some proofs. So that is the moment when this particular thing happens. One morning I was sitting in my room and reading some proofs, the proofs of his novel, most probably. It was the end of winter. But for the last few days before the season came to a close, the temperature was freezing and almost unbearable. I was enjoying the warmth of a strip of morning sun that had alighted on my feet under the table, traveling through the glass window. This is a beautifully descriptive passage which talks about the end of winter and the onset of spring. So the writer is in his room enjoying the warmth of a strip of morning sun, a really nice ray of warm morning sun that alights like a creature, like a being at his feet under the table, and which has traveled through the glass window. It's a very picturesque and evocative scene. While this pleasant scene is being described for us, what happens quite soon after this is that the Kabuliwala is arrested. In fact, through his window, the writer can see the Kabuliwala being taken away roughly by two police, and the Kabuliwala is cursing and trying to explain his situation to the onlookers. And what does this scene perform? In fact, the scene performs a huge difference. There is a huge contrast between the two male characters, between the father of Minnie and the Kabuliwala. Here we have one man sitting safely and comfortably in his room enjoying the changing of the seasons, and we have another figure just outside his window being accosted and assaulted and taken away by the police, quite reasonably so, because he has committed a violent crime. But there is a difference in the social environments between the two male figures. Now, this is an aspect that we need to think about, that is, how long has Kabuliwala been in association with Minnie? It's not a long time. In fact, the writer says that he had been visiting Minnie almost daily, and by offering her pistachio nuts, he had already won a large part of the girl's childish heart. So he visits daily and he offers pistachio nuts to the little girl, and he wins her heart through these offerings and through his jokes and the way he relates to her. In fact, if we want to be very precise, he comes into the story in autumn and he leaves in winter. and then he returns years later. So, if we kind of calculate precisely, he is perhaps in Minnie's circle from October to February, less than 6 months, and that is the nature of the duration of the friendship between the two. Is it short? We need to think about it. And then he leaves the world of Minnie because he has been arrested and he has been put in jail for several years, 8 years in fact, and then he comes back later to kind of reclaim the friendship with the little girl. So, this is what the narrative says. Charged with grievous injury, Rahmat was sent to jail for several years, and the narrative kind of tells us the precise number of years that he has been away at the end of the story, when the writer says that, the father figure says that he was not even sure what might have happened to her, that is her being Rahmat's own daughter, in the past 8 years when he has been jailed in Calcutta. Now, as I said, the story begins in autumn and it ends in the month of autumn again. So, we can also think about the importance of this particular season, what sort of season autumn is, and what is the thematic implication for certain events to be initiated at this particular point in the year. So, the narrative says several years passed, it was autumn again, Minnie's wedding match had been fixed. She was to get married during the Puja holidays, a time of great festivity and celebration. This event will take the joy of our household to our in-laws' house, leaving us in darkness. It's very interesting to see that the loss of a child through this event of the marriage being associated with the darkness of her home, her parental home. So, that spatial association is very interesting. The presence of the daughter is somehow symbolically connected to joy, and her absence to darkness is a very interesting fact that is referenced in the story. Now, if we locate the Kabuliwala, the fruit peddler from Kabul, at the end of the story, he is not in Kabul, he is not yet gone back to his country Afghanistan, but he is in fact sitting there on the floor of my house in an alley in Kolkata, and he continued to envision the images of the arid hilly terrains of Afghanistan. So, this father of Minnie sees the man sitting on the floor and thinking about his own country, the arid hilly terrains of Afghanistan. That is where the Kabuliwala is located at the end of the story. And it is a very interesting idea, because he is a man who constantly travels, but he is for some reason or the other caught or trapped in situations where he cannot travel. So, even at the end of the story, when Minnie's father offers him money and so that he can travel back to Afghanistan and meet his little girl, this man is seen by the readers within the home of this aristocrat on his floor in an alley in a street in Kolkata. So, the very interesting image of immobility, and we can see that he has become a mind traveler in some ways, just like the writer. So, there are thematic associations between the father and this stranger from Kabul. As I said, there is an association, a resemblance between the writer who is also the father of Minnie, and the Kabuliwala from a strange country. Both of them are stuck in place by the end of the story, not only the writer father, but also the Kabuliwala, and they start to wander imaginatively, both of them, and that is very interesting how one comes to double up as the other. Now, setting is also about the social conditions of the characters in a fictional world. So, the question that one can ask is this: what is the daily life of the characters like in a particular story? So, if you look at Kabuliwala, what does the father do? What does Minnie do? What does the Kabuliwala do on a daily basis? Now, let us see what they do. The father writes stories. He is a writer. He occasionally steps out of the house to do some business in the city, probably business related to running the household, but basically his profession is about writing fiction. How about Minnie? What exactly she does? This girl plays. This girl chatters with her companions, older and younger, and she grows up and she is married at the end of the story. That's what she does. And the Kabuliwala, what does he do? He is the one who is very, very mobile, in the sense that he moves about the city selling stuff, selling things, and he is a traveling trader. So he is a businessman in the real sense. So these are the social conditions of the various characters in the story, and their social conditions show us the difference between the nature of their lifestyle and conditions of life. Now, the other questions one might want to ask about the story are, do they contain local color, writing that focuses on the speech or dress or mannerisms, customs, etc. of a particular place? So that's an important question to ask. In the context of the Kabuliwala, we had a look at the customary objects that he carries, especially the sack that is always with him, or the long hair, or the burly look. So these are some of the mannerisms, the demeanor of the character that establishes a particular identity of the person. It's very interesting that at the end of the story, when the Kabuliwala returns from jail and he visits Minnie's house, the father is unable to recognize him because he has changed drastically, and 8 years in jail would definitely do that to that particular character. And the father says that, very interestingly, I recognized him through his smile, because that customary sack is not with him, and he doesn't have the long hair or the burly look. Only his smile is the one human thing that kind of connects or reminds the father about the bond he had with the stranger 8 years ago. So the descriptions certainly are very important to creating narrative and emotional impacts on the reader. And let's look at another character whose dress is described in the story, and that is Minnie. And the first description happens at the end of the story when she is in her bridal dress. That's very interesting. So we have the Kabuliwala, whose baggy clothes and physical appearance are constantly referenced, unlike the other characters such as Minnie or the father. And as I said, Minnie's description is done, especially her dress is referenced, the type of dress that she wears is referenced only at the end of the story when she is in her bridal dress and ceremonial makeup, and she comes out from the inner quarters and stood beside me coyly. So these are very interesting things that add to the emotional intensity of a narrative. The other question that we can ask ourselves is about mood or atmosphere. What are the feelings that are created at the beginning of the story? Is the story bright and cheerful, or dark and frightening, or anywhere in between on this spectrum? So these questions will help us understand the various layers that are there in a story in terms of its themes or central meanings. This is how the story begins. This is the opening paragraph of the story, and let's see what kind of mood does it create on the reader. My 5-year-old daughter Minnie is a chatty girl and likes to talk all day long. It took her about a year after being born to acquire the talent for language, and since then she has not wasted a single moment of her life remaining silent. Often her mother chides her to keep quiet, but I can never do that. Seeing the girl mute even for an instant seems so odd and unusual to me that I find it unbearable. That's why my conversation with Minnie is often feisty. Now, this is a very interesting opening paragraph, and this particular phrase, she has not wasted a single wakeful moment of her life remaining silent is an exaggeration which adds to the light tone, the cheerful tone of the story. So it definitely would bring a smile to the reader, and of course it's about a 5-year-old girl, and a loquacious 5-year-old girl is also a very, very interesting and attractive figure. And we have a contrast here, a slight bursting of the bubble there through the figure of the mother who chides her to keep quiet. So things are balanced here. The light atmosphere is balanced by a slightly negative touch through the figure of the mother who wants the child to keep quiet like a good modest little girl, but the father can never do that. So the father is very indulgent. So we see a nice balance here between the two parent figures. Seeing the girl mute even for an instant seems so odd and unusual to me that I find it unbearable. That's why my conversation with Minnie is feisty. Again, the word feisty, very spirited, it kind of lifts the mood of the first paragraph of the story back to the cheerful tone. So there's an, as I said, nice checks and balances here in this particular opening paragraph. Okay, there is a frightening moment in the story, and that is associated with the Kabuliwala. He is the only figure in the story who is violent and who employs obscene language in the story. And this particular context is in. So, when Rahmat is arrested because he has attacked a man who refused to pay up after having bought a shawl, he attacks the man and he employs obscene language. And when Minnie hears about the commotion and comes out of the house, his demeanor, his behavior changes. In a flash, Rahmat's face was filled with expressions of happiness. So the moment where he kind of comes in contact with the child, his rough, his violent behavior completely undergoes a change. So that's something we need to keep in mind about this particular character. And now let's come to the closing paragraph and look at the tone of this particular paragraph. The narrator says, I had to cut out 1 or 2 items from the eclat of the festivities for gifting that money. For example, the lighting decoration was not as gorgeous as I had wanted it to be, and the band party had to be cancelled. This upset the women, but buoyed by a benevolent spirit, my auspicious ceremony became luminous. So this is the moment in the story when the writer father becomes completely sympathetic towards the state of the Kabuliwala, and he wants to help him monetarily, financially. So what he does is, from the budget he has for his daughter's wedding, he takes out a particular sum of money and offers it to the man, the stranger from Kabul, and that generous act has an impact on the festivities that he had planned for his daughter. For example, the lighting decoration was not as beautiful as he had planned it to be, and he had to cancel the music party, the band party, and the women were not best pleased with this new arrangements. But the father was lifted by a benevolent, generous spirit, and his auspicious ceremony became more brighter. So metaphorically, the festivity has become lit up more beautifully than ever before. So this is a very interesting paragraph, and you can see that just as in the opening paragraph, there's a combination of positive and negative touches to it. So he had to cut out, remove 1 or 2 aspects from the wedding party. So that is the negative touch, but having done that, and he gets this benevolent spirit back because he has done that, he feels that his auspicious ceremony has become more luminous, more effective somehow or the other, and that the wedding of his daughter would be even greatly blessed. So this combination of pluses and minus is the theme that seems to run through the entire story. Even in the previous episode about the frightening moment in the story, the Kabuliwala is violent, he is using obscene language, but the moment Mini enters the scene, that side to this character is suppressed and Ramat's face is filled with expressions of happiness. So that's the positive and the negative there about that particular character. Now, how do we evaluate the story ultimately? If we look at the conclusion of the story, especially the last paragraph, we see that the authority of the father is asserted because he has the power to take out a few items from the wedding events that he had planned. He has the authority to call his daughter, who is somehow somewhere else in the house, getting dressed for the wedding, and this kind of authority is something that is underlined in this story. And while he is the protector of many, the daughter, his own daughter, he is also the protector of the Kabuliwala, another father figure with whom he empathizes with at the end of the story. And that Kabuliwala is also, as I said, a father of a daughter like Mini. And the last point that I want to stress here is that women are ignored at every point in the story, and we should know that they are not major characters here. We just have Mini and Mini's mother as roles in this story, and Mini's mother plays a very marginal role, and Mini herself, though she occupies a center stage at the beginning of the story, she becomes less important as the story progresses, and the father's thoughts, his reactions, his emotions, and that of the Kabuliwalas occupy the center stage, so to speak. So women are ignored, but they are reasonably so, because if we notice that the women would have wanted the band party, the lighting decoration, because they do not know the importance that the Kabuliwala had played in their lives. And again, if we go back to that opening paragraph, the mother who wants to suppress the child's spirit is also not portrayed in a very positive light. So ultimately, this story asserts the authority of the father and makes father figures very empathetic and sympathetic. Thank you for watching. I'll continue in the next lecture.